Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. My name is Jessica Isaacs. As a personal trainer and someone heavily involved in the fitness and bodybuilding community, I get asked all the time, what the heck is keto? You may already be searching your brain archives for the words ketogenesis, ketosis, and ketone bodies. If no bells are going off upstairs for you, not to worry, I've done my homework and you can copy off of me this time. The ketogenic diet is a low-carbohydrate, high-fat diet that promises to turn you into a fat-burning fool. You may be thinking, hey Jessica, that sounds an awful lot like the Atkins diet. What gives? Well, the difference between the two is protein consumption. While Atkins tends to encourage high protein intake, with keto, only a moderate amount is consumed. I'll explain why that matters in a moment. Let's talk about the principles behind the ketogenic diet and how it's supposed to work. The body and brain prefer to derive energy from glucose. Carbohydrates we consume are broken down into individual glucose units and converted into ATP for energy. And when insulin levels are low during fasting or low carbohydrate consumption, energy stored as glycogen can be broken down to provide glucose and thus energy to the body. So what happens when you're not consuming carbohydrates and you're fresh out of glycogen? The body says, well, what do you say we start putting some of that fat to work? Stored fat can be broken down to create ketones, which can then be used to provide the brain and body with energy. This is ketosis. Hijacking this metabolic process, the ketogenic diet attempts to trick the body into starvation mode, activating ketosis. If the body falls for this little trick, it will take what it can get with dietary intake of fat and use that, as well as stored body fat, to supply it with energy, thus allowing the dieter to drop that spare tire and slim those thunder thighs. As previously mentioned, keto differs from Atkins when it comes to protein. While it prefers not to, the body can also metabolize protein into glucose through the process of gluconeogenesis. Since with keto, you really don't want the body to get distracted and start getting creative, consuming excess protein above what the body needs to maintain muscle mass should be avoided. Enough science, let's talk grub. For all you nutrition whiz kids, this is probably all pretty straightforward, so I won't bore you going through foods to consume and foods to avoid in detail. But the gist is, meats, nuts, seeds, oils, and fat is good. Foods with high carbohydrate content, such as grains, most fruit, and processed foods are no-nos. Menu design for the ketogenic diet is also pretty straightforward. For my personal plan, I opted for a macronutrient distribution ratio of about 10% carbohydrate, 25% protein, and 65% fat. Using the exchange list, I plugged and chugged, coming up with a whole lot of fat and protein exchanges and a teeny tiny amount of fruits and non-starchy vegetable exchanges. You may have noticed I have no exchanges for starches or dairy. With only 45 grams of carbohydrates to play with and a long list of no-nos with grains in bold and underline, I opted to maximize fruits and veggies instead. Also, I plan to include a higher fat cheese instead of milk. For my menu, I had a medium or high fat protein at every meal, lots of nuts and some fruits and veggies sprinkled in between. While I worked in just about every color of the rainbow over the course of the day, every shade of brown also made it on my plate. Ultimately, my focus was incorporating a lot of flavor variety throughout the day. If you've been screaming out, this diet has 99 problems and dietary guidelines are 1, let's talk. First of all, forcing your body into starvation mode, eliminating food groups, and can you say micronutrient deficiencies? That goes against everything we've been taught. Yep, you're right, no arguing there. In my humble opinion, this is a terrible plan for the standard dieter. It lacks balance, which will trigger cravings, and most people just won't have the willpower to follow this long term. Micronutrient deficiencies can be compensated with supplementation, but we know food should be the first source for meeting vitamin and mineral needs. Cost-wise, depending on how savvy the shopper, this isn't the cheapest meal plan to follow. Some meat and nuts can be pricey. Potential side effects range from dehydration and constipation to kidney stones and gallbladder issues. High ketone levels can also generate fruity-smelling breath, which is better than halitosis, but still a little funky. So, bottom line, while I definitely can see the potential for weight loss with a ketogenic diet, I would absolutely talk my clients out of following it. It's too restrictive, lacks balance, comes with its fair share of side effects, and there are healthier ways to reduce body fat. Well, that's my presentation. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this was informative.